It is a great honor and a privilege to introduce Hanah Goldwyn.
Alexander.
And you were Alexander, and we have Sylvia Shyne, and you were Martin. Two very close friends. And Hanah, can you, sisters, family?
Sisters.
I was born in the time of the Shoah, of the Holocaust. And we had very hard time. My father was a rabbi, Orthodox rabbi, and my mother came from a family of Girush Sfarad. Okay. And the parents, okay, not she. She was also born in Germany. But her family were Girush Sfarad. They were not religious, but she decided when she was 17 to come nearer to religious. So she was Sfardi and she learned Hebrew Sfardid. And then she met my father, who was Ashkenazi, but they got married. But in her home was not kasher or anything. But when she was 17 and wanted to be nearer to be religious, she stopped eating at home. But when my father and my mother decided to get married, my grandmother threw everything away and bought everything new so that the children could eat with.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. And my mother was very, very Zionistic, and as we were children, we were three. My brother was the oldest, my sister and I. My brother was 5 years older, my sister 3 years older, and I was little. Of course, when Hitler came to power and kasher was out, we stopped eating meat for us. Of course, with Jewish people, it's not always, they can't go without meat. So they bought meat and made it kasher. My father used to laugh about it. He said, "Neu kosher, altrefer." Said, aber as it was not. Okay. My brother and sister, being older than me, they already went to Hachshara, preparation for coming to Palestine in Germany, in Kfarim, in little villages, and in when the on the 9th of November, 1938, was the Kristallnacht. Israel was in one Hachshara, Tova was another one, and where Israel was, the Nazis came in and sent the boys who came from Germany to Buchenwald, Machane Buchenwald. The Polish, they sent to Poland. At my sister's Hachshara, it was much worse. Young people don't always get up immediately in the morning when they slept at night. When somebody comes in, get up. So they came in, and one boy didn't get up in this minute, so they shot him. So my sister and one of her friends, they decided, they made a neder. They decided they will fast on this Yom Hamishi for all their lives.
Wow.
Okay. Now, of course, they were sent home. My sister came in the middle of the night, on that night, when our synagogue, which was called Ahavat Achim, where my father was a rabbi, in wedding in Berlin. She came home. My mother took her in from the taxi, bought her how she had almost to go with a taxi by herself. I will never know. Anyway, we used to, a few years, we lived in the Jewish hospital because my father was a Rav and also, as we call it today, Oved Soziali. He helped all the people who needed help. And at that time, when the Shoah was, they needed our flat, so we had to live in another house. And that is for a house that belonged to Goyim. So not all Germans were Nazis, but they were afraid of them. Because when there were Jewish people in their house, if the Nazis wanted to come in to take the Jews out, so they could not close the door as if nothing happened, and they would be killed by the Nazis. So they left the door open. But my mother was very clever, and she immediately, when my sister arrived and she sees the door open, she took us in, closed the door, and at that time my parents were not taken to Auschwitz. So, and my mother was very, she said, we are not sitting around, and we were praying and Psalms, which until now I have these things. And and then my sister said, from now on her name is Tova. So my father said, where did you find this? Well, you always call me Täubchen, Taube. Taube, Tova. But no, Taube in Ivrit is Yonah. So but she already decided, she said with Tova. All right. But then she said, she told her parents what happened at Hachshara and what she and her friend did. So my father answered her, as a father, I can't do anything about that. As a Rav, I take off the neder. You cannot make a neder when you are 16 for all your life. And so he took off the neder from her. And okay, she accepted it, was her father. עכשיו, my brother, the Hapoel HaMizrahi from England, immediately when they heard about the boys being in Buchenwald, immediately they took them out, Hapoel HaMizrahi. They took a hand and they brought them out to England. My sister, I was 13. Children's Aliyah was until 12. Youth Aliyah, 14. I was 13. We were Yekes. My parents didn't make me younger or older. So I stayed. But they already knew, as Tova got the last certificate she got. She gave 3 away for girls whose parents already were not. So she got the last certificate she got to Israel in 39. And there I was. And my father said, there is no future for me in Germany. And he was in contact with Rabbi Rabinowitz, whom he met when he was in England marrying somebody of the family. So he said, Dr. Rabinowitz, Vakasha, find me a religious family for my daughter. Now, you must understand one thing. I was not such an easy child. What I wanted to do, and I wanted Eretz Israel. Couldn't, because the British were here, I couldn't. So, I don't know what all the reasons is, a long time ago, but family Martin, Mommy Martin saw my picture and said, I don't want a sick child. Because
can I just tell you one thing? Rabbi Rabinowitz came to the house and my mother said to him, she looks so ill. He pinched Rene's cheek and said, after a few weeks with you, she'll look like this.
That I didn't hear.
Sorry, I interrupted.
Anyway, my mother said, how can I send you if you won't eat anything? So I said, when I go to somebody strange, I will eat. So, okay. I arrived on Friday, Lefnei Tzoraim, in Kickerwood. First of all, a lady came to the station. We arrived with a big Oniya in Dover.
But can I just ask, Hanah, do you remember saying goodbye to your parents in Germany?
My parents at that moment were still there.
And did they take you to the station?
We were Yekkes, and they were told only one of the parents can come to the station.
Wow.
So my father went with me to the station. There were 170 children we were there. And there were Sapdot and Dodot and da. Only Alexander was Dr. Alexander with his daughter alone. But he on the station.
He blessed you.
Yeah.
Did you think that you were going to see your father again and your mother again?
I was always optimistic. I was in the train with, they were old trains, where there were 8 children in a Cuba and a Prostor. In the Wakaze today, trains like that. And I was there, and everybody was crying, all the children there were crying. And so I said, why are you crying? Why are you crying? We are going out of Germany. We will see our parents again. And the children listened to what I was talking. And there was quiet in my apartment, was quiet. And when the Madrichim saw how it was, they came with a guitar and played for us.
And what year was this?
No?
Do you remember what year this was? Was this in 1940?
That was 39.
39. This was in 39.
June 39.
June 39.
June 39.
And the war broke out on the 3rd
I can
of September.
tell you all about it. I can't tell you your name exactly now that I learned. I have already forgotten, but not What was that?
You remember it like yesterday.
Forever. Tov, you want to know about family Martin?
Just before,
not-
I'd like to ask, was Rabbi Schoenfeld involved in the decision as well?
Rav Schoenfeld at that time, no. He was a Rav of the school, but Rabinowitz.
But I think they worked together. He worked together with Rabbi
They
Schoenfeld.
did work together.
Yeah.
I don't know where, but they knew each other.
I
And he went and promised.
I think Rabbi Schoenfeld and Rabbi Rabinowitz may be directed to your family.
Rabbi Schoenfeld I never met, but Louis Rabinowitz, we were very, very close. He was always in our home.
Rabinowitz.
And
He saw that everything was all right.
You knew he became
as
the
a
chief rabbi of
became
South
the-
Africa?
I know.
And can I ask, when you said goodbye to your mother, it must have been very traumatic to say goodbye to your mother before your father took you to the station.
But she was very
Yes,
optimistic.
but my mother was not a polnische Mama. She had both her feet on the ground. I even later on, when I was in correspondence with Tova, when she was by Israel and I in England, we were correspondent. I said, I don't know. My mother, I saw my mother crying 4 times. Once, when our synagogue was not burned, because our synagogue was in the middle of Goyim houses. So they were afraid to burn the house.
Non-Jewish houses.
So they couldn't burn it. But everything else that was in the synagogue was
Ruined.
Sifrei Torah and everything. Inside was everything destroyed. That was when my mother died.
When she
When-
cried. Yeah.
She died when my uncle died, my father's brother, who was young and a very, very nice man, and a good professional. No, but they were very close. They were
A
very
good
close.
dentist. Yeah.
Family Alexander were very close and emotional, quick to cry. You're lucky that I'm doing it now, that I'm steady. It's not always like that. And then I liked chocolate. I was grown up with chocolate. I think that was the only thing that I ate. And I remember when we went to school, there are so many things that I have to tell you. I don't know what first and
That's
what
fine.
next.
It's good.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's good.
So I better go back to a little bit. When I was 7, I was in a not Jewish school because it was near to our home. At that time we were still living in the Betrolem, in the hospital, Jewish hospital. And that was near. And one day the singing master came to the class. He was like you, but like that. And I was like this. I was 7 and not the eater. And when he came in, everybody had to get up, Heil Hitler. And I stand, not Heil Hitler. I stood. So he came to me, why don't you put up your hand at Heil Hitler? I said, I'm Jewish, I mustn't. I got to freaking that I saw stars and I ran out of school and went home. I never go back to that school. No, that was sure. My father heard that he went to school, and the headmistress said, "I'm sorry, can't do anything about it. You better take out." He said, "I've taken out already." I didn't wait for it. So, and then I had to go to school. So my sister and brother were in a religious school, Adas Yisroel. Adas Yisroel, from where we lived, was 1 hour's journey. We didn't have a car. There was no such thing as today. There was a bus, on the road, train on the road, yes?
Trams, yeah.
That brought us to the station. From there we had to take a train to the station where we got out and went to school. Okay. I was 7 and my sister was 10. So I had to go with her. My parents didn't have time for such things. So I had to go with her. And also to wait. Her classes were longer than mine because I was young. Until one day I said to Tova, "Do me a favor. I'm now going home. I had enough." So I went home and she said, "Okay, if you want to." And then?
זה יכול לקחת גם 3 שעות.
זה יכול להיות עד מחר.
אז רק רגע. אז אני...
מה? All right.
That must have been
You
terrible.
want to know, when I came on the train, I always was lucky and funny and chutzpahdik and whatever you call it. I didn't feel that I left my parents, or I wasn't sad about it, because I left Germany.
It was an
For
adventure.
me, not adventure. It was getting out of Germany, of the Nazis. We were not children with the age of 13. Here, the children, when they are 10, they want to be 20. We wanted to be children, but we couldn't. We had to be grown-ups. I remember very well, when in school, we were talking, we were the Yakis, and the Polish children, they sent to Poland. And so they had to pack up things at home, yes, to get away. So we rang them up on telephone. "Can we help you?" But we spoke in a language that only we knew what we were talking about, so that a Nazi cannot. That is what we were. We were grown-ups. We weren't children. And when my father took me to, I knew that my parents wanted to save me. I couldn't stay there anymore. I had nothing to do in Germany. So I had to go to a different country. I knew England. I didn't want to go to England. I wanted to go to Palestine, but we couldn't. It was impossible. So when my father blessed me, I was happy, and he was sad. But I was a child. I didn't understand the sadness about it. So when I came into the train, I was happy. And all the children, they were crying for the mommy, for the daddy, for the... And I said, "Why are you crying? You're leaving Germany. You will see your parents again. They will come afterwards." What did I know? But that was me, all the time. And so even the madrichim, they saw that there was light in our room, there was happiness in our room, in our apartment. So they came also on and off because they had to be with the other children. We were 170 children. Came with a guitar, always a flute, and played with us to make us happy. And then we came to Hamburg, American ship, Queen Elizabeth, big ship. Tabach, Yehudi, kasher, everything was kasher, everything was nice. Also, I hadn't seen meat since 1934. This was 39. Yeah, I had no idea. 39, yes. I didn't know what it tastes like anymore. Anyway, we were 8 children around when we all went up to the Onia, it was American ground. So the madrichim automatic, so we sang Hatikva. We sang Hebrew songs, danced around. The Germans were looking, they couldn't do anything because it was American ground. And then the children, we were 8 or 10 children around the table. Each table had a, what you call it, somebody who served us.
A waiter.
A waiter. Each table had a waiter. Koshy or not koshy, low, and I remember he comes to me and asks, "What do you want to eat now?" I said, "I beg your pardon." I spoke already German, I didn't speak English. First of all, I hardly knew what he was talking about. What do I want to eat now? I have no idea what I want to eat. What does one eat? We got from heaven above. We got whatever somebody said. I didn't. I wasn't in that. The other children were more more interested in the food and things, but I didn't. I was brought up differently. Sorry. So, happen. So. But anyway, was fantastic. Okay, we went on our journey and we arrived in Dover.
In Dover?
I think. We arrived in Dover and got onto the train from Dover to Liverpool Street Station. So in
Liverpool
Dover...
Street Station is the name of the station in London.
You don't even... All the time I thought that you were from London. Okay. As in Dover, in the train, for 170 children, on each place there was a little bag with sweets, cake, sandwiches, something to drink. On each place, kasher, strict, kosher. There were many children who didn't know what was good. But each child had a package on it, 170 children. And then we came to Liverpool Street Station, and here starts the story. Underneath the station, there is a
underground.
Lemata. There were the children sitting, and opposite there was the committee who did all the thing. Right side, left side were where it was closed with thing, and behind the families mishpacha or friends or whoever who had to take the children home. We sat there waiting for widow. Some knew, some didn't, some had relatives. And so I was there. I was waiting for something that I don't know what. With my little bag and this is a paper which I thought I lost, and therefore Ronnie and I couldn't get to making out the forms for getting money from Kindertransport. I said to Ronnie, forget about it, that's not for us anymore, I don't think. Anyway, here my mother wrote down all the permits that I had to have. The Teudat Zehut and Teudat Leda and permit number 7, when I left school. When I got the number from the children's Ausweis and from the Finanzamt and from Stadtkasse and from that I go to somewhere else and the things that all written down here. The original, I don't know why I made a copy. The original is gone. But this is a copy that I made sometime that I had something going in my head, maybe I needed. And that I found. But I found this about 2-3 months ago. Wow. And Ronnie, I said, Ronnie.
Wonderful.
But it was not in plastic, yes.
You laminated it. It's really
Clive was here for a visit and said, why is it not now? You have to put it. I said, you know what? From 39, it was paper, and now you tell me to put it in plastic. Of course, I went to the Masquerade and had it.
It's so clever that he suggested.
But it's
Clive,
no
Clive
use.
is
It's not
my nephew.
Sure. So,
Anyway.
you're sitting in the station.
Yes, I'm sitting in the station. All this is quite clear to me. Sitting in the station waiting. And then they went and they went and they went. Yeah. And then a very, very nice lady came to me and spoke to me in German and said, look, your foster mommy asked me to take you home because it's Shabbat, Friday, it's Friday for Shabbat, and she has no time, and she asked me to take you, and very, very nice. And she took me out and said, have a glass of milk first before we go. Okay, glass of milk. The glass of milk, and she took me to her car. Her car? I thought Queen Elizabeth's car. I did a car.
So,
okay. She was very nice, and then we had to
You
go.
can't remember her name.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember her name. But she was extremely nice. And she took me through London. And I look out. Everything was, I'm in a dream's land. And, okay, make it short. I arrive, and the door opens, and very nice young lady there with a pinafore, and she takes me and kisses me, and I said, oh, what a nice
She thought she was a maid.
What,
It was my
what
sister.
a nice maid here. And Mommy Martin was standing in the bed. Joffie, very nice maid, and the grandmother. Joffie, very nice. Okay, I didn't know that the house is filling up.
But you
I
said-
heard there were 8 children. I don't know 8 children, it can be. But no, yes.
Didn't
Okay.
my mother tell you to write to your parents because she had a letter from them for you? Yes.
She's running away. She has no time. Anyway, she's right. We have to show. Anyway, of course, Mommy Martin came to me immediately and said, please sit down. Your parents are waiting for that you should write that you arrived safely. So then that was the only time that I felt tears. But I said, stop it, to myself. Can't, they mustn't see that. And then I heard my mother say to me, how can I send you? You're not eating anything. And I answered her at that time, don't worry, I will eat. So it was dinner time, okay, family all there, everybody came from work, look there. And then it turned out that Renee was my sister and not and we had lunch. What do we have lunch on Friday? Is it all right?
No, it's very good, sure.
The ochel is in the evening on Shabbat. No, on Friday lunchtime you eat soup. And what is a soup? Batzal, marak batzal.
You remember onion soup?
And I thought, how am I going to go not die when I eat this?
Onions.
I didn't like to eat, and here I get marak batzal. I thought I promised my mother, and I ate the soup, and I could not overcome this. And I said, please, Mrs. Martin, no more onion soup.
Poor thing.
And from that moment, Mommy Martin did not cut the onions anymore. The onions were for family, and the soup I could eat.
So she didn't chop up the onions so that she didn't
Before
eat the
she
onion.
chopped up the onions,
had the
everybody
goodness
had
of the
onion
soup.
soup.
Without having to eat the onion.
And Hannah, do you remember first seeing
I come at lunchtime, and then everything okay. Now Sylvia has to go shopping with me. We go shopping.
I don't
She doesn't know German, I don't know English. Yiddish, maybe she knew, but I didn't. So we go shopping. We go down Ensign Road. Ensign Road, I look in Cricklewood. This was Jewish people. And I look around me, every other house in Mezuzah.
Now it's all Indian.
I could not, in Germany there was no such thing. No house had the mezuzah outside. No. Even the בית חולים היהודי, the mezuzah was inside, never outside. And for me, and then something happened. A soldier happened to pass. And I see the soldier. And for me, that looked like a Nazi. And like I see, I don't know if you realized what was happening before. Can you remember that something?
I don't remember at all.
This soldier came towards us, and as I saw this soldier, I saw a Nazi. I left her, I turned round and went home, and I knew exactly where my house was, and I went into the house, and I went to the garden. I don't know if she ever realized that suddenly Hanah wasn't with her anymore. You don't remember?
I don't remember.
But I was frightened.
Did you manage to tell Rennie or my mother?
I don't think I said anything to anybody. I sat in the garden.
Ah.
And then
Then the house started filling up.
and then Friday evening comes. I think that was one of the wonderful times in my life. Like on the Shabbat, this Friday, I got a kiddush from Louis. But that was the beginning. Louis was 25, I was 13. Louis was not a Yenet. He did what he wanted. He didn't do everything that he was told.
My brother Louis, who was 105,
Grown-up people.
he was
They
a
were not
renegade.
children. Yes, the father made kiddush. Atzli, b'bayit, when my father made kiddush, we were around the table, but we were only 3 children, not 8. And nobody went to pee or... Hello? Hello?
שלום, שלום.
שלום, רוני?
כן.
איזה יופי! מה...
Shabbat dinner.
So...
We were all sitting around the table.
We were not actually כולנו sitting around the table.
Because
Louis
Louis
was in the מקלחת. טוב, I
was
talk in English.
one missing.
I know already someone missing. I only came at lunch. Okay? I only know someone is missing. אי אפשר לעשות קידוש.
You couldn't do kiddush.
And I said, not yet Kiddush. I spoke in German. But Daddy Martin and Mommy Martin knew the family. And Kiddush. And I'm in shock. 13 years old. Wow. But Daddy Martin already said, Ken, you can knock at the door. He's said that. And then knocked at the door.
She went upstairs and knocked on his door.
Kiddush. Okay. Daddy Martin makes Kiddush. Out Louis. And then Louis, very happily, comes down from the miklat. And I said, you have missed the Kiddush. Now you make the Kiddush. And Louis made the Kiddush.
They were wonderful. Wasn't that wonderful?
And
she was a kid, and he missed Kiddush because he was a renegade, and she made him come down and make Kiddush himself because he missed it.
And he did it. But that is Louis.
And they became the best of friends.
All his life. we were evacuated.
But just before you evacuated, in what bed did you sleep that night?
Huh?
In whose bed did you sleep that night?
She doesn't know whose bed you slept in.
Huh?
He wa-
Ah, yes, I know very well in whose bed I slept in. Miss Renee, instead of you, I was there. Sylvia and Sophie and Eddie were in the other bed, and you had to give up your bed for me. And I felt, wow, awful, because I said, this poor girl has to give up her bed for somebody she doesn't even know, and she can't even talk to her.
Oh,
And Sylvia, you did it gladly?
I'm sorry?
You gave up your bed gladly?
oh, of course.
I'm sure
I take after my mother.
You were very happy to give up your bed for
Yes,
Hanah.
of course. And then we all used to share beds. I remember my sister Sophie and I sharing a bed. It was the same with Laura and the boys with Herschel.
The boys had 2 rooms. We had only one. So we had one. With 2 beds. Eddie and Sophie, and Sylvia and Renee. The boys had 2 rooms. They were, they had each a bed.
Anyway, we got through it.
You were given. But anyway, no,
and can I just ask, Hanah, when you saw Sylvia's parents and her siblings and the family, did you feel immediately that you felt at home? They made you very welcome in the home?
Immediately. Immediately. It was. I was not a person who. I was sorry for her that she had to get up her bed for me.
But she was amazing. She sat at the table, she sang Zemirat, and she taught us so many tunes.
And that I can't remember.
I remember. I remember you
Thank
taught us.
God that we have different memories.
Yeah.
And you went to school together with Sylvia?
Yeah.
You went to school?
No.
I don't know what school she went to.
She was a clever girl. She had a whole bookshelf full of books that she got prizes all the time. I didn't learn anything. I didn't like to learn. In school I was nothing. I can remember when I was 8 and I had a Tanakh teacher, and there was we had what do you call it?
A library?
No. It was at that time you wrote on blackboard. 10 she'elot, questions I had to answer. Nothing. I don't know anything. I didn't know anything. I didn't learn. And the teacher, this was the nicest teacher, except my great-grandson, who's my teacher now. He was fantastic. He came, and of course I started to cry. What can I do? I can't do anything. I don't know what they're talking about. So the teacher came, Mr. Neuberger. We met also in Israel later. He comes and says, Hanah, why are you crying? Don't know anything. So he said, so what's the matter? Take the Chumash, look up something that maybe remind you of something. And so I opened up and I saw something of Yosef going to Mitzrayim. That was it. And he did not give me the worst things. So and of course then I passed to come to the other class. I didn't want so much because the teacher in that new class I didn't like at all, and the teacher he was better for me. He didn't care so much. But my father came to school and he knew his daughter. And he said, if she got, so she told the teacher, if you got her through to the next class because I am rough, forget it. Back to the other class. I was happy because I didn't have to go to the teacher who was very cruel. A teacher who was not nice. He suffered, we all suffered in that time.
Yeah.
People were nervous, people were, was not an easy time for nobody. But he used to take the boys and give them Makot right to next. Das ist Roll. We were Jewish. He could teach us not. And
All the
in my
schools were
class,
like that then. All the teachers were like that in those days.
not all. Some. The teacher I stayed with, he was.
I had a girlfriend. I had a girlfriend in school. I was 12 or whatever, and she was disciplined because she crossed the road without permission, and she got the cane.
Wow.
Yes.
Tough, yes. We had also Fräulein Efrusi. She came to Israel. She was Efrati. She was my teacher in Germany when I was 10. And she was not married, and she was strict teacher. And have you ever had this on your fingernails?
Oh, yes, it's terrible.
But she used to do that.
Oy.
Okay, now I tell you the story of the end of Fräulein Efrusi. I was in Jerusalem, the husband of a cousin of Eliezer died, and we went Bikur Avinim, and who was sitting there? Fräulein Efrusi. I was already great-grandmother when I saw her again, yes? And great-grandmother, yes, maybe, or grandmother, b'chol ofen. And I said, Fräulein Efrusi. And she looked at me, Maria. I said, I was Hannah Alexander. איזה שמחה. But אני זכרתי.
You remember?
אני זכרתי.
Wow. Hanah, can I ask you, when you were staying with Sylvia's parents, did you used to get letters from your parents? Did you manage to get letters from your parents?
Letters?
Yeah, from your
Yes.
parents.
Yes. 2 months more. We got through the Red Cross. 25 words. Okay. So.
Can you imagine?
Wow, only 25 words.
I don't
And
know.
for how long? How many months or?
They went to that also. Israel, my brother, he found out. When my parents really were in Auschwitz and out. We all didn't quite know how. But my brother was very much alert always. My sister and I, less, I don't know, I knew that they were not there, but I didn't go into the details, but my brother didn't let go. We got from Berlin, from the Jewish communities, from all Kielot, Berlin, what's happening, where. And in 84, 5, Israel found a book. Somebody in Germany in 48 found in Berlin a room with a special beit kvarot. What is a special beit kvarot? All the lists of all the Jewish people who have been sent to the camps and to their deaths. So say that the Shoah has never been. The world were not talking. They thought this is it. That is the head of the Jewish people. They made this up. But Germany is Germany.
They kept documents.
They kept
Very
all
methodical.
the lists of everyone who went on top. My brother was teacher, and his mind was with our parents. And he got the book in 85 or 84. It was written in 49 or something. He got it. And when he saw this things, he wrote to these people, maybe this still exists somewhere, maybe we can find what happened to our parents. And he immediately got an answer. We are very sorry, this office has gone to wherever, but you, and give him the address, you write them, we will also write. Israel didn't have even time yet,
No, that's good.
didn't even have time yet to answer. Slowly, you don't immediately jump and do, because there's also other work to do. He already got from there a first page. They went to Auschwitz with the Transport 36 on the but we have got also, this is only the first page. There is Israel wrote back to that. He already got the second one. He said that he will also write. So he had already 2 maps of all what happened.
And you know what date they were taken?
Yes, it's written down. But where? With all this, everything is on a different scale.
100 years roughly,
But
they were taken in the beginning?
They were on the 19th of February 43,
43.
on my mother's birthday.
And they were taken to Auschwitz?
Huh?
They were taken to Auschwitz?
Auschwitz. Auschwitz?
Birkenau.
I remember the family made inquiries about your parents. We eventually had a telegram from the Red Cross telling us that they had perished.
Yes, you have.
And can I just ask, kind of, when you stopped getting the telegrams, how did you feel? Did you know that something has happened?
I didn't get the telegrams. Israel did all these things. And he was in contact with Tova and me about what was happening. We got
But when you were staying with family Martin, and you didn't get any information about your parents, did you have an idea that something was happening?
I knew that they were. I didn't even know they were. No, they were not in concentration camp when I was. I was then in the Kvar, in the village, and then I went on
You were
Hafshara.
evacuated.
And
And here's
I didn't have this. I remember we had maybe 1 or 2 letters from the Red Cross, but Israel had more, and he had the last one from them.
Wow.
And then
here's a picture of your parents. And Hanah, can I just ask you, could you show the picture of you and Sylvia? Sylvia, if you could show the picture. Who is in this picture, Sylvia?
This is my eldest sister, my wonderful eldest sister.
What was her name?
Her name was Edith.
She's in the middle.
Edith.
Edith is in the middle.
She's in the middle. She was
Our teacher.
My mother was so busy that my sister took over. She
Took over the 2 girls.
Yes, she saw to our schooling and everything.
And which one are you in the picture, Sylvia? And which girl are you in the picture? Because you're all 3 very pretty girls.
The Sylvia Shyne.
And this is kind of you on the right and Sylvia you on the left.
I think you're wearing Sophie's dress. It's so pretty. Yes, I remember. And,
You were always pretty and clever and
So that is such a beautiful picture. Wow.
It is, isn't it sweet?
It is such a beautiful picture. And you both have had a friendship for over 80 years.
It's
That's
so
80
wonderful
years.
that we're still in touch. People tell me, ask about you. I said, well, I speak to her usually on Friday before Shabbat, when we get through to each other.
oh, when we understand.
So these,
We're both so deaf.
but you know, you both, even though you aren't blood sisters,
We are
you are
sisters.
connected as sisters.
Yes.
It's so beautiful to see.
I hope for many years.
Yes,
And maybe stream plus mom.
Or maybe.
Even more. Maybe stream plus chai, plus chai, plus chai.
Or maybe.
It's so beautiful to see.
No, at the beginning because we couldn't talk to each other.
I was terribly spoiled. I was the youngest in the family, and I was very spoiled.
Yeah.
And I remember when we were evacuated, my mother wouldn't let me be evacuated by myself with my school. I had to go with my brother's school, and it was a boys' grammar school. So I was the only girl in the boys' grammar school.
That I didn't know.
Yes.
I had that, and I get to know new things.
You went to Bedford. I went
to near Bedford.
I went to Northampton to begin with, to a place called Market Harbour, and it was a wonderful little village, and the people were delightful, and they made the evacuees very, very welcome. But we were only there for a month or so, and then we were transferred to Northampton, which was so stupid because it was an industrial town. And
But you know what's so beautiful to see? Hanah and Sylvia, both of you have remained such close together. The closeness is indescribable. And you're both living in Israel. You both fulfilled the dreams of your parents, and you're living here, and you're having nachas here, and your children are here.
I'm not really. I was not mamash prepared for doing the right things, because there are things there בהכשרה באנגליה, but that is not.
There's so many pictures and so many memories. Hannah, it's beautiful, it's wonderful, and I
And
must
you
just
have
tell you, but you know, to see both of you, can I just ask, as a favor to everybody, what message could you give? I mean, here you went through so much in your lives, and look how you both are smiling, and look how happy you are, and what message could you give?
I think we were both very, very lucky. Baruch Hashem. Hashem was watching over us both.
It's much more than that. Look, I know that the Bet Knesset Shelanu was Ahavat Achim. And that is what was it all about until now. With Eliezer, we were happily married for 69 years. He was a gaon, he was clever. Learn from life, not learn from anything else. But what I have got, yes, is I love people, I love animals, and I don't want milchamot. I want peace. That's my dream.
Do you remember, Hannah? Is your dining room kosher still?
Our dining room?
It is, because at one time it was not.
At the beginning, no.
Yeah, I remember my parents were quite upset because it was not kosher.
I remember
but
the words of Daddy. Daddy Martin, for me, was my father.
He was a very sweet man.
My
very
from
gentle.
the beginning, and he loved me, and he worked in his room upstairs, making clothes.
He's a
for me.
tailor.
I told
Yes.
you, he was a master
Yes.
tailor from the Russian
And-
army.
First thing when I came from holidays, whenever I came up to Daddy's room, there was magic chocolate.
You know,
waiting
they've
for
still got that
Wow.
sewing machine.
me. No,
They still have the sewing machine. It's an antique. But I want to tell you that after a year or so, I don't know, you got in touch with Rennie, and you said we can now eat you can now eat in our dining room because we have a shomer. And Rennie came to see you, and she wasn't satisfied, so she went to the dining room to check. And there, yes, this is what she told me.
she wouldn't tell me.
And she met the shomer. And the shomer was the son of one of the Rabbonim who used to come to our house in England for tzedakah. His father was a rabbi, and a very distinguished rabbi.
But here in Israel, the kibbutz,
On the kibbutz, you had a shomer, and he was the son of a rav who used to come to our house in England. So she wrote back to my parents, it's okay, we can eat here now.
Wow.
that I don't remember. I don't remember ever that you ever ate in our Chadarochel. That I also don't remember.
Yeah, well, we
but
did.
I remember the last words that I heard from Daddy. I love you, but I'm a bit disappointed in you.
When you came here.
Because they came to visit me. Stot Yam is not. And I came from the rabbi's family, but we were not religious anymore.
I think you told us that it was very difficult to get into a kibbutz because Luli had epilepsy.
Yes, but
And-
that was
And
not
here
the
they were
reason.
accepted.
But that was not the reason why we came to Stot Yam, because we could have gone to Terat Tzvi or to Yavne or to
But why didn't you?
But we didn't, because we were not religious anymore. And Lola was,
Well, I suppose he never had been.
yes. And he also came from a religious
He
family.
did?
Yes, his family were also religious. משפחת צוקרמן. ישוע צוקרמן. לא, we were not religious anymore. With a heart to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, yes. But you can be thanking God every day for what you have and believe in God and not Shomrei Mitzvot, not the same. And I must say the truth, I'm quite lazy also. But I wanted a kibbutz. I did not want to live outside. For me, town, Tel Aviv, בכלל, אין על מה לדבר, חיפה, עוד איכשהו, אבל no, I wanted kibbutz. We were in a מעברה. Have you ever heard
Sure,
of it?
it was very difficult. It was very...
זהו. We were 4
It was
years.
a tent city, like a tent
4
city.
years we were in Marlborough, and we were the only Yakers there. The other were all sorts, but we were friends with everybody. With us, everything was we didn't do anything wrong. Nobody did us anything wrong. And we had a Polish neighbor, and she said, you want to go to a kibbutz? I've got a school friend in Sdot Yam. When she comes to visit, I'll invite you. Okay? She came, she invited us, and for some reason or other, I think she saw Eliezer and said, this man will never want to go to a kibbutz. He looks much too intelligent for going. Anyway, she didn't answer. She said to me, if you want to go to kibbutz, Rov Sotin Street in Tel Aviv is Maskirut kibbutz. Go there. That's right. Eliezer was in the army, and I went by myself. And I came to the Maskirut kibbutz, and I'm a Yekata, and I told our story. Said, we want to go to kibbutz, but my husband, this and this and this, was in Auschwitz, this and this. She said, that's all right. You go for Shabbat. And he said there are two possibilities, Givat Chaim or Sdot Yam. Have you got anybody there or there? I said, yes, in Sdot Yam. Sdot Yam, the woman that didn't want.
Sure.
The woman who recommended it.
So what do I have to lose? I didn't know this and I didn't know that, so what's the difference? Anyway, I said, Yofi, Henny, hello. The other was 3.5 years old, and we, Yakis, Mama, Henny, hello, here we are for Shabbat. That doesn't work with us. Well, it's okay. 2 members of the kibbutz are working here in the Maskirut. I already said that they expect you. Okay, so the 2 people knew that we were coming, and we arrived in Sdot Yam, and she didn't come too, but there were others who were very nice.
So here you are.
And here you are. And I just want to say, you said that Daddy Martin, one of the last words is that I love you, but I'm a little bit disappointed. Well, I'm sure Daddy Martin above is very, very, very pleased how you got married, how you brought up a beautiful family, how we've seen your 3 daughters and grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
Of course.
And you remained in Israel.
11 great
And thank God your whole family remained Jewish, and you can be very proud. And I know, Sylvia, your family are very, very proud, and the friendship that you both have is very unique. And I think all the families, your parents and your parents, are smiling from above, and they are very, 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 not only are they pleased, but they are besimcha, they're in such joy to see a friendship of over 80 years, and how you remember such fun memories.
This is friendship.
It's
family, it's sisters.
You know, I found a picture of Eddie's daughter Rochelle when in Jerusalem. She lived in Ramot.
רגע אחד,
Rochelle and
Liz.
Michelle.
of course, we were at the
You were
bar mitzvah,
That's-
bat mitzvah.
that's right.
I've got
Wow.
pictures.
I
Well,
got pictures
I
of
want
you
to
and
thank
Rochelle
Sylvia
from it.
and Hanah, thank you so much. And you both are just the most amazing people. And you should just be well and have all of Hashem's blessings. And just know that parents on both sides are smiling from above, really.
And thank you so much, Leslie. You went
And
to so much
It's
trouble.
been the greatest honor and privilege, really, to meet you and to know you, Sylvia, and to know your sister. And this has been extremely extraordinary and very, very special and very unique.
I think you are very special. And I want,
Thank you.
אני הולכת לברך אתכם.
Hanah, here is a picture with you, your parents. And it's wonderful that you have a picture of your parents. They look very special.
Yes, I've got more than one picture of my
Thank
parents.
God.
And I saw that I've got little ones and everything. My father was a rabbi, religious rabbi, but a rabbi who was helping people. His Beit Knesset in Berlin was called Ahavat Achim, love of brothers, not just yeshiva or something like that. No, my father was free for Datiim and not Datiim.
Birthday present to Hannah
When I was 14,
from Louis when
From
she was
Louis.
30. Oh, so it was your 14th birthday.
13th birthday.
Amazing. Look how she's kept it.
And you've
so
kept it all the years.
Huh.
And that was from your brother.
Yes, from
From
my
Louis,
brother
who is
Louis.
105 now.
Wow.
Isn't that lovely?
That's very beautiful. And you've kept,
You know, Hannah,
Only from Louis, I've got a lot to tell you, but we had no time.
you know,
This
isn't that
is-
beautiful?
wow.
That was the.
That was here in Stotjam
she's
when the
crazy
farm
about
was here.
horses.
When the horses were here. I'm riding a horse.
She loves horses.
And you still riding the horses?
Yes.
At the age of Ken and
But
her
they are not
93?
in Stotjam.
Wow.
Unfortunately, they are near. Oh God. Near
That's not
Yeah,
you, is it? It's
לטרון. אתה
לטרון.
יודע איפה
Yes,
לטרון?
yes, sure.
Near לטרון. Tile Shachar. All our horses are there. You know.
She's crazy about horses.
It's wonderful.
Yes.
Wow.
And
This
here is
This is-
Louis and Jonathan and the boys
My brother Louis,
talking
That's
to me on the
Louis.
telephone.
Hannah's husband. That's Louis' son Jonathan with his two sons.
wow.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful how you
Daniel and
remain
David.
family. You actually became all family. Wow.
That's one.
That's wonderful.
And Louis is talking to me on the telephone.
Well, please God, may you continue this very special friendship. Ad Mei Vestrim plus Chai plus Chai.
Do you know, before you came, Louis used to take me everywhere. And when you came, he dropped me and he took you everywhere.
But Sylvia, you didn't mind. You were never.
I survived.
Don't ask. Don't ask. She won't tell you. I can imagine a girl of 13.
But you know what? Look how beautiful this friendship is. It's incredible.
I showed you that picture of him in Trafalgar
Yeah.
Square.
Yeah.
That's Hannah and Louis.
Wow. That's
Which
so
one?
nice.
This is
And these are all Hannah.
I didn't know that you had so many pictures with you.
This is here on Sadat Yom with my parents
Wow.
and my sister and my brother and Luli and Hannah.
You have better pictures than I have.
And
Yes, that was in when we went
This
to
was-
Tiur.
Tova's house,
Wow.
Hannah's sister Tova. And that's Luli, my mother, my sister Rennie, my father, my brother Michael, and Hannah.
Oh, such beautiful memories. Wow.
Yes. But look,
That,
Trafalgar Square.
yes, that
That's a
With
beautiful
Louis.
picture. Wow.
is. Yeah.
That's with Hannah, you and Louis.
Yeah. I can.
Okay,
Wow.
Yeah, can.
we want to eat.
Me too.
Healthy and happy, live many more years in happiness and gesund, and with much nachas from all your lovely children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. You should be well to enjoy them. Be well.
Hannah,
Thank you.
Hannah, can you do the blessing for
She's done it.
Nana?
יברך
It'll go down for posterity.
I want to bless you also if you let me.
Oh,
Can?
wow.